Welcome to Walking with Spirit with Dr. Ruth Anderson on the International Angels Network. Today is Thursday, August 16, 2018. I'm your host, Ruth Anderson, and I'm coming to you live from Colorado. Here at International Angels Network, we explore spirituality, angels, spirit guides, our loved ones on the other side, and much more. Our radio podcasts are available to you on Pocket Casts, Pinterest, Player FM, Podchaser, and now TuneIn Radio. Listen to us on Alexa and Echo Amazon devices or download the TuneIn app. These are all easy sites to use and make it really easy to listen to our archive shows. Tonight I'm thrilled to present this last week of our 5-week mini-series called Getting to Know Divine Mother with my dear friend and guest, Dr. Nancy Tarr Hart. This episode of International Angels Network is sponsored by Holistic Light Rejuvenation Center. For more information, visit holisticrejuvenate.com. Sunday Sturgeon is the founder and CEO of Holistic Light Rejuvenation Center and is a host on this network. We are pleased to announce that International Angels Network is now also sponsored by Audible by Amazon. If you go to www.audibletrial.com/International Angels Network, you can get a free audiobook. So please check that out today. I would like to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to listen in. This show is called Walking with Spirit. Walking with Spirit means consciously living in the physical realm with frequent connection to the divinity in the spirit realm and being open to all that they want me to experience. Every day I check in with my guides, Divine Mother and God, sometimes seeking guidance, sometimes seeking connection, and sometimes seeking their healing abilities. Many days I receive lessons by hearing, seeing, or feeling signs coming in from the energetic realm. I never know what my day is going to look like or what the next learning might be. Each week I share a story about an experience I had while walking with Spirit. Now, I don't know about any of you, but my heading out on a spiritual journey started out as a very lonely proposition. As I experienced Spirit's presence more and more in my life, it became harder for me to find someone who I could speak with about it. I could talk with my teacher and classmates about the intuition part of my journey, but no one was experiencing the same kinds of life lessons I was seeing from the spiritual divinity. Couldn't turn to someone at a church because the intuition side of things turned heads. The only mentor I could reach out to was the spiritual divinity themselves, because I could not find a person in body to turn to. There were many days I felt downright alone in a crowd. I waited a long time to find someone whom my soul recognized as home. Don't get me wrong, I have longtime friends whom I adore, but I had an inkling that there were folks who could truly understand me and that I could have a profound, instant connection with them once we finally found each other. Maybe it took so long because I was looking in the wrong places, or maybe it was so I could find that place of home in myself first. Perhaps I needed to evolve and change into someone they would recognize and gravitate to when we finally met. For whatever reason, this past year I've been able to make the acquaintance of several soul sisters to whom I feel such alignment. Late 2017, I felt a nudging to go to a Hay House conference for writers. As the event was in a different state, I was reticent about going until a friend said he was interested. When we arrived, there were over 100 participants in the hotel banquet room. I sat in the second row thinking I would learn more if I was up close and making myself pay more attention. I made a point to reach out to a couple of women near me. One lovely woman in the seat directly in front of me had a warm, inviting smile. Her name was Linda, and she had followed the nudging she received to make the trip from California. Day 2 of the conference, my body grew tired of the stiff hotel chairs, so I moved over to the wall and sat on the floor. The beautiful soul from the front row took my lead and followed me to the wall. We started up a conversation that over time turned into a soul sister connection. Linda Dirks, fellow lightworker, author, and fellow radio host with me, not only followed me to the wall, but onto my weekly radio podcast and to write her first book. Had either one of us not listened to the whispers of spirit, I don't know if we ever would have connected. I am so honored to have found Linda and enjoy her friendship as we walk on our spiritual journeys together. Spring 2017, I received a request to provide a long-distance personal reading session. When I answered the phone, I instinctively knew that I was supposed to know this client better and saw a vision of us working toward a common goal. Dr. Nancy Tarr Hart listened to her guidance, recognized my name when she saw it, and reached out. Together we share commonalities that make our hearts beat and add meaning to our lives. While Nancy and I have never actually met in person, my soul recognized her at once. To all my tribe members, the new and the old, I thank my lucky stars for you daily. Your presence fills me with love, connection, and belonging. So I am an author and a spiritual counselor providing individualized, transformational experiences for my clients using Holy Fire Reiki, energy work, and connection with the spiritual divinity, including the Divine Mother, Archangels Michael, Gabriel, and Raphael. If my work with the spiritual divinity sounds like something you would like to explore, please feel free to reach out to me at openclinic1@gmail.com, and we could discuss a private long-distance session. Make sure to mention that you are a listener of International Angels Network to receive a discount. I also just launched a new book that came out on Amazon August 7th, Walking with Spirit, Divine Illuminations on Life, Death, and Beyond, shares so many lessons that I have learned this past year and a half, including what happens when we die, how you can connect to the spiritual divinity, and what the spirit realm can teach us about the physical realm we live in. The book is available on Kindle now and will be coming out in paperback soon, so please be looking for that on Amazon. So let's get started with our topic tonight in the Getting to Know Divine Mother miniseries. This show is called Your Will, Not Mine. Divine Mother is known by many names. Some see her as Mother Mary, the Divine Mother of Jesus Christ. Others see her as Mother Nature, Mother Earth, or a divine feminine universal energy. I see her as a combination of all those things, encompassing nature, heaven, and earth. Divine Mother is the essence of all things compassionate and maternal. She brings an all-embracing, all-consuming love to her healing. Divine Mother has given me unconditional love and the impossible, all-encompassing nurturing that my soul longs for in a mother. Time spent with Divine Mother leaves me feeling intensely satisfied, wholeheartedly nurtured, wide open to love, and loved, very loved. I would now like to tell you about Dr. Nancy Tarr Hart, our guest this evening. Nancy has a wide and varied history of personal and professional experience, encompassing 40-plus years of business experience combined with theater, experience as a performer, director, costumer, educator, and administrator. An intuitive and mystic, the understanding of her gifts fully ignited in 1999 when she enrolled in a part-time undergrad program for adult students, from which, in 2005, she earned a BA in Philosophy and Religious Studies, summa cum laude, from the Notre of Maryland University. She continued on her Spirit Sophia guided academic, and in 2013 was awarded a PhD in Religious Studies with a concentration in feminist theory, the Divine Feminine, and Marian of Trinity, St. David, Lampeter, Wales. Recently, she has come full circle academically and according to Spirit Sophia's plan, and is back at Notre Dame of Maryland. This time as an traveling, writing, gardening, reading, sharing her home with her beautiful black kitties, Callie and Bastet. So welcome, Dr. Nancy Tarr Hart, to the show.
Ruth?
How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you. That was a lovely introduction, and I enjoyed very much hearing your story. So thank you for sharing that.
Well, you bet. So you are the 5th week out of a 5-week miniseries on getting to know Divine Mother. And each of the different people have come from a different place. So I am so excited to hear about your experiences with Divine Mother and what you're doing with your life now as a result.
Well, I think that it's fair to say that she has been guiding my steps for a good portion of my life. I was not aware of it for a long time, and that may be not entirely correct. I think I was aware of it, but did not want to acknowledge it for a long time. And I do know that as a child, I would be aware of things, I would see and hear things, and it didn't go over too well in the general world of growing up in a very Christian household. I mean, not fundamentally so, but just, you don't really talk about seeing things or hearing things, and I was always told that I had the most incredible imagination. That imagination of yours, I can still hear my mother saying. And it wasn't imagination. And as I got older, I started to realize that, and then it frightened me a little bit because it would sometimes be too intense. But what has happened is that in 1995, it was decided, not by me, that, enough is enough and it's time. You need to follow your journey, the reason you were put here. You need to fulfill your purpose. And
so, Nancy, I'm going to cut in 1 second. So when you say it was decided but not by you, who was giving you this push out the door?
The spirit world. And I at that time didn't really identify it. I will assume it was the Divine Mother or the Divine Feminine, as I often refer to that whole cadre of experiences, of aspects and attributes. And I think that I started to hear things. I started to see things. I started to think I was having a nervous breakdown and didn't really know who to talk to about it. And called one of my old high school teachers. She said, you know what? She said, I was sobbing on the phone. I was like, I think that there's something wrong with me. And she said, you know what? She said, I've got this friend. She said, don't go anywhere. She said, I'm going to hang up. I'm going to call her, and then I'm going to call you back. And I followed instructions, and she 15 minutes later called me back, and she said, all right, now I know that this is meant to be. She said, as soon as I called my friend Charlene, she said, I tried to call you because I knew you were trying to get in touch with me.
Awesome.
And your phone was busy. And so Charlene, who is on the other side now, she passed in 2013. Charlene agreed to see me, and my friend Betty said, I know she's going to be able to help you. I said, okay, fine. So I went to meet this woman, and she opens the door. I knock on the door, and she opens it, and it's a woman who's probably about 25 years older than me, and she's got long blonde hair and is wearing all white. And she says, and I thought I was looking at an angel. And
Wow.
she said, "You must be Nancy." She said, "Come on up to my healing room." She took me by the hand and took me up the stairs to this room, which was all white, but it had books from floor to ceiling all along two of the walls. And she sat me in a chair, and she said, "So, tell me what's been going on." And I started telling her, and I was horrified. I was like, "Oh my gosh, she's going to call." There's a psychiatric hospital here called Shepherd Pratt, very famous. Zelda Fitzgerald, F. Scott Fitzgerald's wife, was in there for years, and I thought, she's going to call Shepherd Pratt and have them come and get me. I mean, but I started telling her, and after the first thing I said, she went, "Oh, wow." I thought, "Oh, wow." And then I continued, and each time I would say something, she'd say, "Oh, wow, wow. I wish that would happen to me." And I said, finally, "Is that normal?" And she said, "You don't realize what's happening, do you?"
Wow.
And I said, "No, I really don't." And she said, "You're communicating. You're being talked to. You're being shown things. This is like normal for you. Why have you never paid attention to this before?" And I didn't really have a good answer except for fear.
Mm-hmm.
And so we talked. We became very good friends. She helped me. She helped guide me through, or ease me through, I should say. But a lot of the initial opening time, but a lot of the times the sense that I got was a very nurturing, warm, enveloping, loving mother, sister, friend type energy. And it would just enfold me quite often and just hold me.
Right.
And so I learned to just sort of walk with that and walk through that and give things over to that presence. And so, we can fast forward to 1999, waking up one morning and saying, "I think I want to go to college." And you have to understand, I'm going to be 65 in a couple of months. So 1999, I was in my 40s, and I had valued and placed great importance on the fact that of the 5 children that my parents had, I was the only one who had never gone to college. That meant a lot to me. It was part of my identity that I had done so well, And I thought, okay, who just jumped into me and said, "I think I want to go to college"? Who said that? It wasn't me. So I called my friend Charlene and I said, "You're not going to believe this, but I think I might want to go to college." And she said, "Hey," she said, "I went to this Ghent college at Notre Dame." She said, it's part-time, but it lets people get, you're taking full course loads. It's not like part-time courses. And she said, "Why don't you put yourself in your quiet place and ask why it is that you want to do this?" I said, "Okay." So the short version is I did it. I asked 3 times, and each of the 3 times I just heard this voice. And I will say, this was not, I still have not quite decided who this was, because it was a very masculine sounding voice, very deep, and the energy was masculine. And it just said PhD. Well, the first time I heard it, I had to look it up, because I thought, PhD, isn't that a doctor of philosophy? What does that mean? So the third time, I was so frustrated, and I yelled back, "What am I going to do with a PhD?" And I heard, "Don't worry about it, just do it." So I enrolled, and really found a part of me that I had not known existed. I found myself. I really, I blossomed. I understood ancient, like sitting in a library with my first philosophy teacher, who now happens to be my chairperson, scared to death that I was not going to do well on a paper, and it was about a piece by Aristotle, and she just sat there watching me, and I thought, oh, I'm really messing this up. I don't And finally, she said, you are picking things up in this that people who have been philosophers for years don't even see. She said, you have got a real gift for this. And that's what kept me in school. That gave me the confidence, that little boost. And then I was told, I had decided at that point that the school it was a liberal arts major, and so you had concentrations, and my major concentration was philosophy. And I decided I wanted the minor concentration to be religious studies, and I went to my advisor, and I said, hi, this is what I want to do. And she said, you know what? She said, I'm looking at your transcript. She said, wait here for a minute. She comes back, and she says, okay. She said, I just talked to both the department chairs of both of the departments. She said, and what they want to do is each of them wants to make you a major.
Oh, wow.
So you're now going to be a double major in religious studies and in philosophy.
Wow, beautiful.
It was not anything that I was controlling. It was not anything that I was actively pushing for or lobbying for. I was just sort of not worrying about it, just doing it. And that continued to open avenues that I think had been planned for a long time. And the same thing happened with getting accepted into the PhD program at the University of Wales. I was going to, after I had planned to go to a school out in California, actually, to do a master's. And it was a school that very progressive theologian had developed. And the week before my check was due, I had been accepted. The week before my check was due, the ownership of the university changed hands, and they changed the entire way that they were doing things. And they changed their entire program. And so I talked to some of my professors, and they said, one of them said, why would you go and pay to learn something that you already know how to do? Why don't you just, and you'll know when the right thing comes up. So I wrote a letter, and I then decided I'm not going to write a letter. I'm going to call them. So I called, and the then president of the place was like, oh, please, we really want you to come. What can we do? And I said, no, you know what? It's really all right. I said, if in a year or 6 months I decide to do this. Oh, I was so disappointed and so bummed out, and I was like, okay, I've been doing what I thought I was supposed to do. How could this fall through? How could this have happened? And I get home, and there's a prospectus from the University of Wales Department of Religious Studies in my mailbox, which I never requested.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. Looked at it, and I thought, I can try to do this. What you needed to do was write a proposal and send it to them. And then they would circulate it, and if any one of the professors wanted to work with you, then they would accept you into this program. So I wrote a proposal, and my proposal had to do with the feminine wisdom in the Hebrew Bible.
Wow.
And I thought, okay, yeah, and the way she was sort of usurped by the masculine word or logos, and I was very proud of this proposal, and I sent it over. And a couple of weeks went by, and I had not heard anything. And I thought, well, I guess I blew it. I hope they at least email me and tell me, thank you, but we're not going to accept you. Mm-hmm. And I got an email that said, hi, this is Dr. Sarah Jane Boss. She said, I am happy to work with you as long as you can put something in your proposal about the Virgin Mary.
Aw, how perfect.
And I didn't know how perfect it was, because at the time, now, I have to admit, I was in college, but I was raised a Protestant. Protestants don't know a whole lot about the Virgin Mary.
Right.
Other than the fact that she's Jesus' mother. We don't have that whole, I call it an arm of the faith that really in effect worships Mary. The cult, they call it the cult of Mary. And so I was like, I would have promised anything at that point. I was like, sure, I can put something in there about the Virgin Mary. I will find out about it. I would have written about my cats at that point. It's just I was so anxious to make sure I was doing the right thing, that I was still on the path,
Right.
And I did keep hearing, don't worry about it. Just don't worry about it. Just do it. Just relax. And it was a period of my life where I learned the importance of just moving. Just don't sit and worry all the time. How we as humans tend to sit and worry. And, if I do this, or if I don't do this, what's going to happen? And can I afford to? And can I do? I thought, what? I can't worry about all of this. I just need to know, I need to trust, and I need to put my ego-driven will on a shelf someplace and just go with the flow of divine will. Go with the plan that I think that I agreed to before I came in. Go with that. And so, yes, I wrote about Mary, and I wrote about feminine wisdom as well, and the fact that they work in tandem, and technically, I look at Mary actually from a very human perspective, but knowing also that she is part of divine, that divine mother, divine feminine actually too. And I think that we see the divine mother or the divine feminine in many, many places. Some of them are very unexpected. There's a big push to sort of separate out the Marys, for example. That we have Mary Magdalene, and we have the mother of Mary, or Mary, the mother of Jesus. And I think they were different people, but I think that they both had that divine feminine, had and have that divine feminine working through them. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense, and that is actually something that I wanted to ask you about tonight, because you and I have spoken about the many faces of Divine Mother, and I've been shown by my guides that whenever someone is kind or doing something to help humanity, that could be considered one of the faces of the Divine Mother. My guides told me that while I'm recording my radio show, or writing my stories about the spiritual divinity, or working with clients in order to help them become their highest selves, that I'm then one of the many faces of the Divine Mother. And Nancy, you had shared with me in a quick reading for me that you mentioned my finding the many faces of Divine Mother. Sometimes it's presented right next to me with a facade that is remarkably different than I might think. So how can we recognize the many faces of Divine Mother when we run into it somewhere?
I think that it's recognition of the energy. I don't think that it is okay, so for example, let's say that there is a very wizened older, I'll say old woman sitting on a street, a bench on a busy street corner, who may look like she's homeless. And as we approach to sit on the bench because we're waiting for a bus, we may choose to either sit on the bench, or we may say, maybe I'll just sort of stand or not. I personally would probably choose to sit because I'm one of those people. I talk to people in the supermarket and everything. I just talk to people. So I would probably sit on the bench. And she looks over and she just smiles. And with that smile, I would probably be able to sense through energetic feel. I tend to be very sentient, so I feel a lot. I see things too, but my strongest sense really is feeling. And in my heart, in the area of my heart chakra, I would feel my heart blast open and just be open to exchange that energy. And that's how I would recognize. I think that we feel comfortable. We feel recognition. We can sense recognition. We can, and so, and let me. I know I'm sort of zigzagging, and I apologize for that.
No.
I do this in my classes too. It drives my students nuts. So, and I go back, and so I smile back to the lady, and I say, "How are you?" And she says, "I'm good. I'm better now that I've seen you." Can't tell you really how many times that has happened to me. And not necessarily an old lady, but, that people will say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I thought that I knew you, but it's really good to see you." Or just
well,
really
that's how I felt. That's how I felt when we first talked on the phone. It's like I've already known you.
Right. And so I think that part of that recognition, in our case, it was twofold. Part of it was, I think it's the divine feminine or divine mother working through us. The other is that, yes, our souls are connected. We are part of that same tribe, that same, grouping. And I think that we are being challenged right now, or maybe not challenged. That's the wrong word. We have been charged. We collectively, not just you and I, the people of the world, and particularly the light workers, are being charged with continuing to, against sometimes what seem to be insurmountable odds. We are being asked to continue to do our best to keep those heart chakras open, and to allow ourselves to be conduits and channels for that energy, so that not only are people recognizing something in us that they will resonate to and either ask a question or say, or just walk away saying, gosh, I feel better since I saw that person.
Mm-hmm.
But we're also being asked to open that up so that more people can share in that energy, and whether they recognize it or not, because it's also very healing, because love is healing, and that's what it is. Right. And it resides in the heart, I think. It's not in our minds. We like to think it's in our brains and our minds all the time, and that's what gets in our way. It really is. As I'm talking to you, my heart chakra is just like pulsing.
Right. No, I know. I was just feeling that, actually. Yeah, I was feeling that.
Yeah. So it's and I don't want to make it sound like creepy or anything like that, because it's not. But it's sort of the feeling that you get when you see small children laughing. And it just fills your heart. When people say it fills my heart with joy, or you hear beautiful music, or see somebody that you love. And Divine Mother, I think, works in very mysterious ways. And sometimes it could be that, I think sometimes Divine Mother appears as a man. Because I don't think that energy knows any gender boundary, or there's no gender boundaries.
Right.
So energy is energy, and we're being asked to pay attention, be aware, and allow it to flow through us, because when we do that, we feel better. We are better able to assist others, and you may change somebody's life. You most likely will change somebody's day. I mean, when was the last time that you said hi to somebody that you didn't even know, and you know that they walked away smiling?
Right.
And they, may have totally changed their mind about something, or totally changed the way they went about the rest of their day. And I think that that's what we're here for, to help each other.
I just got a really cool visual image of Divine Mother actually being a verb, like the energy of Divine Mother being a verb.
It's interesting. Yeah, an action verb.
Right.
Aren't there different kinds of verbs? An action verb and another kind of verb? Oh, I don't remember. I hated English. Oh, please don't let any of my English teachers hear that.
No. But just thinking that it's something you can do, and something you can emanate and be.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my sense, because I believe that we all have the potential to be fully human and fully divine, in as much as our physicalness will allow us to be. And that's a very wisdom-based understanding, and it all it requires us to do is being present in cooperation and in co-creation with the divine, or and that could be either the Divine Mother, that could be the divine source, that could be the divine feminine, however you define that. It could be God, it could be the goddess. We as humans have this need to define and label, and so I can. It could be Buddha, it could be Krishna, it could be any one of a multitude of descriptors for. It could be Hecate or Bridget. So we have all of these definers and labels, and I think we're talking about, in modern terms, energy, something that is so totally other than us that we can really only experience it in ways that we can only just start to begin to understand. But yes, when we allow it to work through us, yes, I think that it is a verb. I think that's great. Thank you to whoever showed you that.
Whoever whispered it in my ear. So Nancy, so you're talking about, the energy of the love and the kindness and the compassion that come through in all of those different variations. Do you see that as similar to the love energy of God, or do you see it as different? Are we talking about two separate energies here, or sort of a combined?
I think it all emanates from the same source. Mm-hmm. Now, is it the same thing? I don't know. I think that we've been trying to figure that out for probably about 5,000 years, if not longer. Sure. It's interesting to me, and my sense is that given my research, and if you and looking at reading all of these treatises from these early ancient church fathers and Plato and some of the philosophers, but listening to them, and they have a consistent inconsistency in that they are very almost confused in a way as to exactly what wisdom is. Mm-hmm. Is wisdom from God? Is wisdom God's creation? But then they refer to wisdom as God's power. And that wisdom had God had the thought before God spoke the word. It was God's wisdom, and then he spoke the word when you start to get into the issue with the word. But you had that, what they talked about, and what it actually says in the Bible, the biblical wisdom literature, is that wisdom was the vivifying, well, it doesn't use that word, but was the energy that God said, okay, I want to create trees. But it was wisdom that actualized the creation. And so its wisdom is the vivifying energy of all of creation, the creation of the cosmos. And if we look at it in today's terminology, we know that there is energy from the stars. We're composed of some of the same elements that are in the stars. And so that energy, that's something that runs through us. And we're told in the Bible that God breathed into the first man to give that man life. He breathed into humanity, which implies that humanity has some of God, has some of the divine source in it.
Right.
And so that to me is energy. That breath would be energy. And so is it the same thing? I don't know. Gosh, I wish I had that anti-millionaires, but I don't think I don't know that that's part of my plan. I mean, it's part of my plan, but I don't know if it's part of the plan. I'm putting it out there. I wouldn't mind being a multi-millionaire for a day or two.
Hurry, I'm not getting any younger. But, it was really interesting while you were talking, because here in the room that I'm sitting in, I can feel the energy of Divine Mother off to my left. And as you were speaking about, is it God's love coming through her? Is it, different? Is it the same? I'm sensing her saying, it's God's love coming down through me. I mean, it's like I could see it coming down through her, but yet there's this also mix that it's the essence of her that gets mixed into God's love. And then what we get is this even richer, delicious, feminine, nurturing wisdom. It's just like so rich. So that's what I was being shown while you were talking.
Okay.
The other thing that I was, go ahead.
No, I was just, no, you go ahead. I've been babbling. Go ahead.
That's all right. The other thing is God had told me a couple, I don't know, in June, that the stars are actually a gift from him. He said, I was learning about the rainbow. My next book that I'm in the middle of writing is not about energy, but about light. And because my second book was all about energy, and then Divine Mother said, no, we're not doing energy. We're talking about light, and we're talking about expanding your light to be more godlike. I mean, that's what my whole next book is about, light. And then they were talking about the rainbow, and then they were talking about the stars. And I asked if, total aside, I don't know why I'm going here, but I had asked if the rainbow was a gift of God, and they said no. And I said, well, wait a minute, what about the whole Noah's Ark story? I mean, they always said the rainbow was a gift from God. And she said, they ended up saying, no, actually the rainbow was a gift from Divine Mother. They said the stars are a gift from God. And the stars are, they provide light in the darkness. And by golly, isn't that everything that God is? So I just thought those were interesting asides to the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, and if we go back in time as well, before our Western Christian mindset comes in, because that's what in the West, that's what our paradigm has been. That's what our ethos has been. And
right.
We think of God as that one and only because that's what we know. And prior to Yahweh, the God of the Hebrew Bible, and the same God that Jesus prayed to, and that the Muslims pray to as well, although they refer to him as Allah. Prior to that, civilizations tended to have, and still some of them still do, they had a male god with a consort, with a female consort, so that there was that blending of the dualities. They may not have had the same powers and abilities. And so there's been a lot of speculation also that wisdom, feminine wisdom, was God's consort, or was almost like an attempt to balance out the one and only male God. So when we look at the attributes of feminine wisdom, for example, or, you know, who can be also defined as the Divine Mother. She was very playful. She enjoyed beauty and all these things, and throwing a rainbow up into the sky, I get that. Yeah, I get that. Saying let's make sure that there's some beauty, and it's also still can be a promise.
Right.
It still can be a promise that he will never do that again. I'll make sure of it. It's our word to you. But it's also it's pretty, and it makes you it pulls up. I don't know about you, but every time I see a rainbow, I just feel really good.
I do too. Yep.
I mean, it's awesome, and it's all filling, and so, and the stars being the light in the darkness, absolutely. So again, you know, I think that it is a matter. I think that you're onto something with, you know, it's coming from one source, and it's moving through and incorporating and blending, and then when it comes to us, to be part of that process as well.
Mhm. Mhm.
That we are then. It's almost like it's matriculating. You know, that it's going through its different processes, and so that then we can in turn return it back up to where it needs to, you know, to where it can be. How do I say this? Reflect it back up and return it back up, so that it can continue the cycle and continue to grow. Although certainly God doesn't need us giving stuff back to regenerate. I mean, that's just silly. But I think that when was the last time that we told God that, you know, that we loved Him? Or that we told
this morning.
Okay, but most people really don't, right? Most
Yeah.
people really probably don't. We talk about God loving us.
Right.
But, you know, and to say, I need you. I love you, I need you, and I thank you. I think a lot of us say thank you. But, you know, so it's that recognition. It's that being part of it. It's again, and it's that verb. It's activity. It's being and doing and walking in awareness. And in the wisdom tradition, and actually in the Jewish tradition, that's called the path of righteousness. It's righteousness. It's right walking with your source. And that's all about why we're here, and knowing that we have the responsibility to take care of ourselves and take care of others and love each other. And you know, and that's the light. To me, that's the light in the darkness. The stars are too, but the bigger light is the love that we all are. And when we open our hearts to that,
that's beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, but and as we open those hearts up to experience the Divine Mother, we are exchanging love, her love, our love, and spreading it around, as my niece would say, spreading it around.
Mm-hmm. So we only have a couple of minutes, but I do want to ask you a last question, and I would love to have you back on. I know that you're busy with your classes at the university, but if you have any time for us, I would love to have you back on. So I'm just looking at the clock. So we've got like 3 minutes, 3 minutes. So Nancy, do you actively spend time in prayer or meditation, or do you simply just have like open lines of communication with Divine Mother much of the time? How does that work for you?
I always do it like a little gratitude thing before I go to bed. But as far as meditation, like regular meditation. No, I'm really bad at that. My meditation I refer to as like a walking meditation, if that's indeed what it is. I just, like if I'm knitting, my brain starts I go into like a Zen mode. If I'm weaving in my fiber arts or if I'm in the garden, I'd say it's probably just that it's ongoing. You know, any and all information. I mean, I can zero in on it and really ask for it if there's something special or particular that I feel like I need or want guidance on. But usually it just kind of comes. And I don't know that I'm that I make a conscious practice. That's the word I'm looking for. I don't have a practice I'm not a good practicer. I hate to admit that, but I'm not good at that. My practice is through things like when I sit with the cats and I'm petting them and we get very quiet and there's a communication there, and that communication then branches out, and that's kind of how it happens. Or when I'm with my students and just communicating or walking. You know, I had an incident. It sounds bad. I had an episode. That sounds worse. I had a situation that's bad too, in Wegmans, the grocery store the other day, where this person started talking to me. It wasn't bad at all. And we stood there laughing and everything, and I walked away and I said, that's what this is about. Thank you for that. And I heard you're welcome. You needed it.
How sweet. That's beautiful.
I needed it.
Nancy, we are short on time, and I have to say good night. But if somebody wants to contact you, could they email you at Tarr Hart, HEART, @gmail.com?
Yes, they can.
Okay.
That would be
all right. All right. Well, Dr. Nancy Tarr Hart, I love you. Thank you so much for being with us. And may I just say thank you. You absolutely. Thank you, listeners, for listening in. It is always a pleasure to have you with us. And please join us this week. We've got several shows lining up. And I look forward to walking the Spirit and you next Thursday, August 23, 2018. Good night, and God bless.